the last chapter, chapter 11, I am reading from the top bunk of my boys' bunk bed. This is their room. Nice and messy. Believe it or not, this is actually after they cleaned. And the Christmas tree is still up. Is your room cleaner than that? I sure hope so. All right, chapter 11. Cousin Dinky Little was worried. He had not seen the Littles since he had dipped his glider's wings at Tom early that morning. It was now late afternoon. Cousin Dinky decided they must be in trouble someplace. But where? Why didn't they send up the red kite he had given them? Everything had worked well with the other families. The Buttons came to the Smalls first. The Shorts walked in a few hours later. Right this minute, the Short and Small children were having a wonderful time together. The grown-ups, of course, couldn't enjoy themselves. They were too worried about the Littles. Cousin Dinky stood on the roof of the Smalls' house. The sun was low in the sky. Cousin Dinky hoped there was time for one more trip in his glider before dark. Luckily, the wind was still blowing, but Cousin Dinky knew it would drop off around sunset. For some reason, it always did. He climbed into the cockpit of his glider and pulled in the fishhook anchor. The light glider coasted down the steep roof, picking up speed. It took to the air. The glider circled out over the brook, which ran at the side of the house. It climbed higher. Something was moving down on the bank of the brook. Cousin Dinky saw it out of the corner of his eye. It was one of the tiny people. He dipped the glider to get a better look. Someone was lying half out of the water. The glider pilot lowered the flaps on the wings of his glider. It dropped quickly. He brought the glider down to a landing on the road. Cousin Dinky scrambled down the bank of the brook. He found Tom Little. The boy was trying to stand up. "Tom," said Cousin Dinky, "what in the world happened? Where is everybody?" "A weasel," said Tom. "Weasel. Everybody trapped." He was breathing hard. "Need help. Fast." "Where?" said Cousin Dinky. "Where, Tom?" "That way," said Tom. "I'll show you." Tom tried to walk. He tripped and fell down. "Never mind showing me," said Cousin Dinky. He picked Tom up. "You'd never make it. We've got to get help." Cousin Dinky ran with Tom in his arms to the Smalls' room in the walls of the house. He told the families what had happened. In a jiffy, the Smalls, the Shorts, and the Buttons had armed themselves and were running to help the Littles. When they got to the bridge, they saw the Littles coming out of the woods. Mr. Little and Uncle Pete were carrying Lucy Little on their shoulders. Mrs. Little and Granny Little were laughing. The two men were cheering. "Hip, hip, hooray for Lucy!" The four families met in the middle of the bridge. "What happened, Uncle Will?" said Cousin Dinky. "Tom said you were trapped by a weasel." Everybody talked at once. Above the happy mix-up, Lucy Little had a wide smile on her face. "Lucy saved us," shouted Mr. Little. "She used her secret weapon," yelled Uncle Pete, and then he sneezed. "Bless you, Uncle Pete," said Cousin Dinky. "What happened to you people?" "We were all terribly worried. Now you come parading out of the woods as though you've been on a picnic." Mr. Little stood in the middle of the bridge and told the story of their adventures. "And when Tom climbed the bush," he said, "we didn't know that Lucy climbed right up after him. We were so busy jumping up and down and yelling. We never saw Lucy until she was way up on a branch right over the weasel." "Then the weasel saw her," said Uncle Pete. "It jumped at her, trying to knock her out of the bush." Mr. Little looked up at his daughter. "Tell them, honey," he said. "Tell them what you did then." "I took the top off my pepper shaker," said Lucy, "and poured pepper on the weasel." The tiny people gasped. Then they began to laugh. "When last seen," Uncle Pete shouted, "Mr. Weasel was rubbing his eyes, sneezing, and going around in circles." "There's a car coming," Mr. Small shouted. "Get off the bridge." Everyone ran helter-skelter to the side of the road. "It's the master of the house," said Mr. Small. "They'll be eating soon. Come, everyone. Let's find out what we're having for dinner." Granny Little took an old lady by the arm. "Aren't you Zelda Short?" she asked. "I am," said the old lady. "I have a lot to tell you, Zelda," said Granny Little. "Let's go into the house where we can talk." "I'm Tina Small," said a girl to Lucy. "Your brother's in the house. He's okay." "I knew you were Tina," said Lucy. "How'd you know?" I don't know. I just knew. And so it began, the first annual meeting of the tiny people of the Big Valley. So now they get together with their friends every year. That's fun. And they're the culprits of the messy room. Working hard trying to clean up, it looks like. All right, that's the end of our book.